Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Deminar. All right, today I'm going to run through a few slides here. I'm going to make this more geared toward developers so that they can understand the value of Jaxon for their workflows. All right, let me dive in. So at a high level, what we're doing is we're taking LLMs and we're bringing them into workflows. We're not asking the LLMs for the answer to a question. We're asking the LLMs to work in a workflow or to be part of a workflow that arrives at an answer. So the key is that we're taking natural language inputs, whether that be from a policy document to be able to extract rules that we'll be enforcing, or from documents that are being analyzed. We're taking it into DSAIL. So DSAIL is our proprietary technology. Our secret sauce stands for domain-specific AI language. And it's code. It's a way of taking the unstructured text and turn it into code so that we can create a program that ultimately gets solved. Solving is a bunch of math, but on the other side it says, yay, the rule that we enforced was satisfied, or nay, it wasn't, or actually importantly, there was not enough information to determine whether or not that rule was or wasn't satisfied. And then the agents on the other side of this process can consume that, display it to the end user. So we are a guardrail creation platform that you access via API. It's containerized, easy to insert into your existing workflows so that you can take advantage of the additional rigor that Jaxon and the DSAIL process brings. The ability to bring it into symbolic reasoning land, employing formal methods, using these domain-specific languages that are a way of really getting a high level of assurance that you can trust the outputs for high assurance workflows. All right, so we start with a blank slate. It really can be applied to any industry, any application. The LLMs are one of the limiting factors. The LLM has to understand the domain. You can get around this by bringing in a knowledge base specific to the domain, but we're agnostic to LLM. Any LLM you can bring into the platform here. So in the online cloud environments or in air-gapped environments on-prem. Jaxon works. So plop in that LLM. It's going to extract rules from existing policies or policies that are extracted from human oversight. A subject matter expert chatting with Jaxon or writing up a document and uploading it into Jaxon to explain how your organization treats certain types of data for analytics. All right. The DSAIL plot process turns it into DSAIL, runs it through solvers. We use SMT solvers in our process. That is another off-the-shelf. We're completely agnostic to SMT solver capability. We use one that comes with the Python package. And then on the other side, we get this compliance report where we have an audit trail. You can understand or have the data related to what LLMs were used, who were the users involved with agreeing that that was the right policy and the right related rules to that policy to enforce, and gives you a little bit more transparency into the process. All right. So for developers and for organizations that are trying to embrace LLMs, they're concerned about the so-called hallucination problem, but in reality, it's more about, can you trust the outputs or not? Are they accurate? Are they something that we can use in our high assurance workflows that are on par with or better than humans? And formal methods have been around for a while. Where Jaxon is unique is that we're letting LLMs be part of the workflow. And LLMs are probabilistic. They are not deterministic. But with the approach that we're applying, we can get as close to deterministic as possible. But being able to leverage DSLs and SMT solvers and the symbolic reasoning that the Jaxon platform provides is a bit of a lift. You really have to have the expertise in-house in order to embrace these approaches, and we've already done it for you. So a nice plug and play way of bringing in formal methods into your process. Instant verification layer. So it takes some time to create something beyond LLM as a judge. That's what most people are doing when it comes to evaluating these LLM workflows, is they have another LLM evaluate it. But the complexity, I mean, that's a great baseline, but the complexity that we bring on top of that brings a lot more rigor to the equation, and it's ready, excuse me, ready-made, access it via an API, and you're off and running. Taking policies, natural language written policies, government regulations, internal policies, and getting them into code to be able to be used in these processes is another big lift. It's not just ask an LLM to do it. There's a lot of engineering that went into our ability to be able to do just this step right here. All right, so speed is a big deal. You can do this, but add a huge latency to your process. And we've brought in a lot of performance measures to make it as fast as possible. It does add a little bit of a layer on top of a query, a couple seconds here and there. All right, developers, high effective resource that you need to employ in the right areas. We've already done this for you, so let us plop it in. All right, I'm going to get to the demo now. So we're going to go in to look at a collateralized loan obligation review process. And so the first thing is to create the application. And at the highest level, we have a cyclic graph that is combining or deciding how to combine all the different guardrails associated with this. And this one's fairly complex. It has over a dozen different guardrails that are part of the process. And how we orchestrate that is one of our capabilities as well. All right, so I'm going to get into one of the guardrails. I'm going to go right into covenants. Now, we're using LLMs as part of this process. We can use OpenAI's latest and greatest. We can bring in really any LLM, as I mentioned before, open source varieties, what have you. And we're going to use these LLMs, both or all three, the LLM, the mainline LLM, the utility LLM that are going to be doing things like converting policies into rules, and the embedding model are all going to be used in the following process. So we are taking in these rules, turning it into code, bringing code being our DSAIL, bringing it into questions. Let me stop at DSAIL for a second. You'll see DSAIL is a bunch of Booleans, reals, things that you can review and edit right here in the platform. We have a language guide in our docs, which I am happy to share with you. If you'd like to reach out and learn more. All right, let me keep going in here. So now we're into questions. So we've taken a policy, turned it into rules that we codified, and now we have turned back into natural language for a subject matter expert to confirm that these are in fact questions that they would cognitively ask of the data when they're reviewing it, trying to see if it aligns to their policies. Because as most policies have been written, they've been written by humans for human interpretation. This is the human interpretation, this form right here. What questions are they asking? So I'm going to go down to my favorite question, the poison put. Oops, I just skipped over. All right. So in the poison put, I have added additional context. What is a poison put? How can the LLM better match an answer to this question? And that's what this context brings. All right, so we've got all the questions here, and there are quite a few. So it takes some time to confirm that these, in fact, are questions that align to the policy. But once all these questions are set, all of them get wrapped up into one master prompt and go back to the LLM with something to be reviewed. In this case, we're going to review a loan agreement, which I did prior to the call here. So I threw in a loan agreement and I ran it up against that particular guardrail that I was showing you, not the whole application, which has the dozen or so guardrails, but just that specific application. I get back this report of which rules were satisfied and which ones weren't. This one looks like a good loan here. As an analyst, though, I would be looking at the ones that get tripped, the rules that aren't satisfied, or the rules that don't have enough information to satisfy, like these unknowns down here, to make sure that it's still a loan that meets all of our criteria. So we're not eliminating the humans from the loop altogether. We're really just trying to optimize their time to the parts of the equation that really require their qualitative thought, what their interpretation is that is unique to the firm. So we're really just taking out the grunge work from an analyst workflow. But back to the developers, you're creating guardrails for these agents so that the analyst can do what I just said. And this is a really quick and easy way to get there. What I'm showing you right here is our playground for doing some testing. But once you have the guardrail set, call on it via API and you're off and running. All right, that's it for today. Please reach out if you'd like to learn more. Check out our website, jaxon.ai, and I look forward to hearing from you all. Take care.